If everyone could be seated. I apologize for the rush, but this afternoon at 5 p.m. there's an event in Central Park for Susan Kupferman, and it's an event that I'm asked to speak at as the chairman and CEO of the MTA, so I'd very much like to make that, because many people could not make it up to Albany for the services they had for her a couple months back. So I would ask everybody to, don't want to hold you up from asking any questions you want and do what we need to do, but if we could expeditiously move through the agenda, I sincerely appreciate it. That means one of the objectives, but not the other one. Public speakers? No public speakers? Approval? I have a motion? Second? All those in favor? Committee work plan, Craig Stewart.
There's one change to the work plan since last CPOC. The semi-annual update by Long Island Railroad on East Side Access readiness, originally scheduled for this month, has been moved to December to coincide with MTA Capital Construction's December East Side Access update. In addition, because the committee will be transitioning from 8 meetings to 11 per year starting in January, the balance of the 2014 work plan is currently being revised and will be published in the next CPOC committee book in November.
Next item is the 20-year capital needs assessment. Craig Stewart and Steve Barang.
Yeah, I'll introduce it. At the end of the month, we're going to publish the 20-year needs and post it on the web. The completion of this document represents the start of the 5-year capital plan development for 15 to 19. In July, you heard about the vision from Bill Wheeler and development in a wider context. Today you'll hear about our assets that make up the MTA system as it is now, our assets that comprise our transportation network, the way we run our system today. The focus is on the core needs. It does not talk about the mega projects. Overall, we have identified approximately $106 billion in core needs over the next 20 years in 2012 dollars. Steve Barang will provide an overview, and then he will talk about the schedule for the development of the next 5-year plan. Steve?
Okay. Thank you, Craig. Before I go through the results of the 20-year needs assessment, I'm going to very briefly run through the process that we use to develop the 20-year needs. The MTA is a very asset-intensive organization. We serve 15 million people who reside in 5,000 square miles, and we have quite an array of assets, as you can see on the screen. By any measure you choose to employ, the MTA and its agencies are the largest of their kind in North America and among the largest in the world. The assets that we use to transport those people are in a cyclical investment cycle. The MTA capital program is involved in the beginning, where we acquire or build the new assets. The agencies then operate and maintain them, and then we are also involved at the end, where we either replace components or we replace the asset in its entirety, and the cycle then starts over again. In the 30 years that we've been doing the MTA capital program, it's gone through quite an evolution. In the beginning, we were focused primarily on stabilizing the system. And as the system became more robust and we were able to offer safe and reliable transport, we were able to start investing in improvements. And now we're at a point where, even though we continue to invest a substantial amount in state of good repair and normal replacement activities, we are also able to fund expansion activities such as East Side Access and 2nd Avenue Subway. The 20-year needs is a long planning exercise that the MTA has been doing for over 30 years. It provides both a strategic roadmap for the MTA going forward. It also addresses the nuts and bolts, or the existing core infrastructure. It takes those two, marries them together, and provides the basis for our next upcoming capital program in 15 and 19. The 20-year needs process is where the agencies go out and survey their assets. They survey them based on a variety of criteria, including condition, performance, safety, and reliability. They identify investments that are needed to bring assets into a state of good repair and investments that are needed to maintain assets in a state of good repair. These then form the basis for a investment needs, and those are subject to a series of constraints, including operational constraints, the availability of private vendors to design and build, the availability of MTA employees to manage the projects, and financial constraints. In the middle of our 20-year needs assessment, we had Sandy, and Sandy impacted us in several ways. It had a significant amount of damage on very select portions of the network, less than 7% by system mile, but it did have a significant impact, and we're funding recovery investments and resiliency investments, which were approved by this board in amendments to the capital program in January and July of this year. We also are changing our standards for building new projects to incorporate resiliency so that our system will be more resistant to future climatic changes. The output of this comes in needs, and the needs can be compiled into four major areas: signals and communications, rolling stock across all the agencies, track and structures, and that include bridges and tunnels, and stations. We also have some new emerging priorities that we are looking towards: customer information, that includes help points, that includes next train arrival information, new fare payment options, and resiliency standards that we will be incorporating into the program going forward. The output, as Craig said, is $106 billion in 2012 over 20 years, relatively evenly spread across the 4 5-year segments. There's a bit of a bump in the third 5-year segment due to subway cars in New York City Transit. New York City Transit gets about 68% of this, including MTA Bus. The commuter railroads get about 21%. Bridges and Tunnels gets about 12%, and the rest goes for security and police needs. I'm going to quickly run through agency by agency how that breaks down and some of the priorities. New York City Transit is clearly focusing on signals. This includes expanding the use of CBTC and replacing aging signal infrastructure, also normal fleet replacement and some expansion fleets, continuing their station component program, which has been remarkably successful, where if you compare the 2007 survey to the 2012 survey, there was a decrease of 37% in station components that were in a rated 3.5 or worse, and we grade on a 4-point scale. They're also going to be continuing investments in track and yards and shops, and they're going to be introducing components now to the line structure program as well. In Long Island Railroad, their biggest emphasis is focused on their nearly 700 miles of track. They're going to be completing double track. They're going to be doing Jamaica capacity improvements to fully enable the East Side Access investment that will be coming online, and to eliminate the Jamaica crawl. They'll be replacing fleets and working on some of their 1960 era stations and a variety of other categories, as you can see listed here. In Metro North, with their nearly 800 miles of track, they have a substantial investment in track and structures. They also are doing fleet replacement activities, stations, shops, where they're going to be finishing their Harmon Shop investment, which has gone over several programs, as well as several other categories, including Grand Central, which requires constant care and feeding of a lot of the infrastructure, including the train shed. MTA Bus, which is the newest member of the MTA family, is heavily dominated by buses. 70% of their new needs is for a variety of buses, and they will also be introducing a component strategy on their depots. On Bridges and Tunnels, more than half of their needs relate to work on structures, roadways, and decks. All crossings will be addressed to varying degrees, but the Verrazano, the Whitestone, and the Throgs Neck Bridge are due for particular attention. They also will be looking at toll collection and toll plazas that will be informed by the output of their study at Henry Hudson. So we'll be taking all of these needs and we'll be boiling them down into a 15 to 19 program. We're going to be using certain strategies, as you can see here, to try to do that. We're going to be maximizing asset life. We're going to be looking to expand the use of component replacement where we can. Careful look at fleet updates, using track access and recognizing it as a scarce commodity that really is. Greater use of enterprise asset management to lower the life cycle costs of our assets. enhanced analytical review, and where it makes sense in such areas as fare collection to do that on a coordinated MTA-wide basis. Now, the schedule going forward, we are publishing, as Craig said, the 20-year needs end of this month. We have started the 15 to 19 capital planning process. We expect to finish that in the early spring of next year. We will be coming back to the board for briefings and discussions, including things as options for vehicle purchases, particularly as was discussed this morning. And we anticipate completing the book in the summer and then briefing the board about the final plan in September, 1 year from this month, to meet our statutory deadline of October 1st to submit to Albany. Thank you.
Any questions? Before we move on to the next agenda item, I'd like to make two announcements, one of which welcome formally John Malloy to the committee. He's been appointed to CPOC, and I look forward to your participation given your background and experience, John. The second is to let people know we've had a number of these announcements of people that are retiring and leaving, and Ron Saporita, this is his last CPOC meeting, I think 8 years here, and he's been an excellent contributor to probably the largest capital program in the country, and it's a very important responsibility. We're going to miss him very much, and I believe he's going on to transfer some of that intelligence to others in the world of academia. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So thank you very much for your time, Ron.
Thank you.
Tom, I also want to say he was key in getting some of the diversity programs going and was extremely helpful in those development issues, and I want to thank you for that as well.
Thank you, Susan.
Very important, and there'll be tough shoes to fill. Next up is Capital Construction Company, and we're going to get the progress report and Eastside Access. Michael?
Okay. We're going to have a project overview. Trying to think, how is that? Oh, that's it. The Manhattan highlights, the Manhattan Cavern, all contract work for the civil has been completed, and we reached substantial completion. The Manhattan tunnels, this is a separate contract, and we would expect to reach substantial completion by the end of September. We have added work in order to, and this was approved at the July board meeting. There are some, as part of some strategic change orders that we put in place in order to expedite the work. In addition to that, we have $37.3 million of work completed in new tunnels by 3 contractors, and we have about $25.6 million at the 63rd Street tunnel that is underway and will be completed by March 2014. Manhattan South Structures, CM005, we received the bids for $201 million, and we issued a notice to proceed September 9th. The North Structure, we developed risk-informed cost and schedule following the risk assessment, and we issued an RFP document in August. And again, we expect to move that forward. The Queens Harold highlights one is the Northern Boulevard that I've actually mentioned today. We've done the final load transfer successfully, and the substantial completion will be reached the end of this month. And in Harold, we completed a month-long. I'm sorry, I did not do that. Sorry. In Harold, we completed a summer outage, a month-long summer outage that was successfully done. The Long Island Railroad completed track and switch work on the westward bypass and passenger track during extended outage in September. The westbound bypass, that is a regional investment, we received a low bid, about $104 million, about 20% below our estimate, and award is planned to be made by the end of September. Some near-term milestone procurement and planning. We're finalizing the risk assessment for the system contract CS-179 in order to establish options, and we expect to basically bring it to the board, to the November board, together with a signal and equipment procurement contract via 086. The risk assessment for the concourse, the CM014, will be finalized and complete documents will be advertised in December. We'll complete an independent estimate and an industry outreach for prospective contractors, including DBEs, will be conducted in order to increase the pool of bidders. We'll conduct requests for expression of interest in the final Manhattan contract for the caverns. That's the finishes of the caverns, and to seek contractor input on procurement strategy and final design. As far as the 006, we expect to receive proposals and negotiate them, and we expect to actually do make an award to the successful bidder no later than March. The remainder Harold work, we are actually right now will be engaged in extensive workshops along the Railroad Amtrak in order to be able to schedule and program all the work. Near-term milestone in construction, Michael's construction to begin physical construction in October as part of the Manhattan South structure. Both 50th Street vent plant and 44th Street vent plant reached substantial completion in December and turn over facility to the subsequent contracts. And we complete the signal cutovers to support Harold construction, F1 cutover by Amtrak in November, and point interlocking Long Island Railroad in December. Harold structure part 1 to energize and cut over a new 12 kV dock bank in Harold during December, opening up key remaining work areas. And the plaza structure, this is Perini CQ030 contract to complete and turn over the new B10 substation in December to subsequent system contract. Just for clarity, it shows the various contracts, the 005 at the bottom, 007 is red in the middle, then 006 the northern contracts, and then the 63rd Street Tunnel, as well as the systems that is shown in red that goes up and down. That's all for East Side Access.
Go to the supplemental.
Independent engineer?
Yes, thank you. The independent engineer would like to update you on the supplemental independent review, which has been undertaken at the request of the MTA. At current time, 3 of the 4 tasks are active. Task 1, which is the systems in Manhattan and constructability assessment, has been submitted. The report for that task has been submitted to the MTA, and in fact, the independent cost and schedule evaluations are being reflected in the South Manhattan structures and the North Manhattan structures contracts, CMO 5 and 6. Also will be reflected in CS 179, which is the systems contract at the time that it comes up. Task 2, an East Side Access Management and Organizational Review, has been submitted and is under review by MTA. Task 3 is the Harold Systems Constructability Assessment, and that is ongoing. However, it'll be pending a schedule, framework, and operational information schedule from the project, at which time they'll begin their assessment. I could throw it. I believe, Tom, you have.
Yes, I'm going to speak to this slide. As you know, we're in extensive dialogue with the Federal Railroad Administration for our RIF loan application. It's the largest RIF loan application they have received. And there are 2 independent financial analyses that are, the first has been completed, the second is in the final throes of being completed. Consistent with those financial analysis, we will make sure that we're at the closure of that discussion. We're also in full alignment with them with respect to the going forward schedule and budget for this project. The last time we did such was a year ago, a little over a year ago now. And with our stakeholders having that much to share on this project, we want to make sure we're in full alignment. And we expect that process to be wrapped up in the next 30 to 60 days. And so probably in the next CPOC meeting, we'll be able to inform you as to what that alignment is in terms of schedule and budget going forward.
Fulton Center. The Fulton Center is on schedule for June 2014 opening, 10 months from now, and is trending in terms of budgetary trending is below the $1.4 billion. The cable net installation was completed as scheduled in June 2013. The 90-day look ahead, the remaining AC mezzanine base contract work is forecasted for beneficial use by October 2013, And as I've mentioned it this morning, there is additional scope to be added to contract 4B for security, and the change order negotiation will be completed in the next 90 days. Targeting completion of negotiation process to bring a master lease on board and prepare master lease for approval by the November board, and this is, again, this is in collaboration with real estate. This is the total project actual versus plan. If you look at the total, this is the upper line. We actually, we can show that we are trending below our budget because primarily because soft costs that we did not incur. And on the third-party construction, we're slightly above, primarily due to all the enhancement that we put in place, that we started to put in place a couple of years ago. Regarding schedule contingency, we have about 15% of the work to be done, and we still have 77% of the contingency. That's 139 days, a decrease of 7 days from last report. And in terms of budget, again, the current budgetary contingency is $37 million, a decrease of $4 million from the prior report. And again, this decrease is due to additional enhancement work. The critical milestone and issues, the validate and enhance the schedule, and this basically the project team revisited the commissioning schedule with all partners, and we revalidated the current schedule, so we are confident that we are following the right thing. And then last but not least, the master lease, the board approval for the master lease, basically we want to have it by this fall, and right now we are in the final stages of negotiations. Last thing I want to say is that we have additional security scope that was requested by New York City Transit. This scope will be added to the AC mezzanine contract, and that will extend the substantial completion past June 2014, but that will not at all impact the opening of the center on time. That's it.
Independent engineer?
Yeah, the IEC likes to update you on the Fulton Center, on the schedule and budget. For the schedule, the IEC has some concern with the timetable with various systems, such as communications, including police radio and fire alarm. IEC in the June report mentioned the testing and commissioning that pose a risk to the remaining schedule contingency, and substantial improvement will be required. In terms of budget, the project is on budget. Henceforth, we have recommendations. The four main recommendations are the following. The first one, substantially completed contracts have had work going on for up to 9 months. We'd like to have the contractor increase his manpower as it's needed to reach the final acceptance quickly. The number 2 recommendation is to increase the efforts for the MEP and communication systems to complete the upcoming work. Additional support staff needed for the system at this time. Third recommendation, finalize the master lease agreement to add provisions for the master lessee desired amenities in a timely manner in case he's asking for it. Last recommendation is to modify the procedure of substantial completion declaration by adding the need to have concurrence of users group QA to the project managers as well. We have also prior recommendations. In March 2013, we had the mitigation plan that is closed. IEC is, however, monitoring the implementation. In March 13 as well, we had we recommended the interim maintenance plan to go on, and IEC is monitoring that as well. 3, initiate the mitigation plan for systems for the substantial completion date. It's ongoing, and IEC is monitoring the implementation. 4th recommendation, prior one, increase efforts for equipment testing and fast-track commissioning process to safeguard schedule contingency. It's closed. We're still IEC monitoring it. That's it. Thank you.
Any questions on Fulton Center? We'll move on to the progress report in Second Avenue Subway.
Second Avenue on schedule to meet the December 16 revenue service date on budget. Progress, we made progress in substantially completing the wall concrete, 67% of the covering and arch concrete for 72nd Street Station, closed the 72nd Street Station shaft and completed removal of the muck house, completed 86th Street Station main cavern blasting and rock excavation, except at entrance 2 at 86th Street, or we'll continue that until sometime probably early next year. Awarded 86th Street Station system and finishes, and this is basically the last contract for phase 1. So we're now completing, all of the contracts have been awarded, and close out 86th Street Station utility relocation, and in fact we are also or closing out the first tunneling contract right now is with capital payments for review. 90-day look ahead, complete remaining blasting at entrance 2 at 86th Street, achieve substantial completion at 96th Street Station, and commence work for 72nd Street Station finishes and system contract. They will be sometime in September. They will be given access to the station, and complete removal of the 69th Street muck house. The first one was done. The second one will start in October. The cost and schedule performance, as you can see here, we are actually, if you look at the plan and what we spend, we are trailing significantly. The main reason for that is we got extremely good bids, and we did not utilize a lot of the contingency. So therefore, by the end of, if we continue that trend, we will be saving significant amount of money. Looking back at the schedule contingency, the contingency is now at 102 days. We have added 12 days of contingency. It is still too close for comfort. It is 44% done, 55% contingency remaining, and we are looking for additional schedule recovery efforts with a target of restoring additional schedule at this time as we complete the work. Regarding the current budget, our current contingency, is $342 million. We used to have 366. The reduction in contingent is due to increased soft costs. However, the increase in soft costs is partially offset by the favorable award of 86th Street Station that this is 208 million vis-a-vis 244 budget. So we have done quite well there, and right now we are in effect 46% of the work remaining, and we have more than what we started with. They have 106%. So we increase our contingency as the projects moved along. Looking at the particular potential issues, 86th Street Station entrance to schedule delay. This is in front of the Yorkshire Towers. We have had 2 lawsuits and a variety of other things that we worked them through. At this point, the construction is moving ahead, and we expect to mitigate the variety of delays, and we expect that to be on time. The demolition excavation of entrance 1 is another one that at the corner of 69th Street and 2nd Avenue, another potential issue that at this point the mitigation is ongoing. We moved from the building to actually provide an entrance along the sidewalk, and we expect that not to provide or to impact the project at all, and we are continuing with our efforts to make sure that that's being done. 63rd Street, Lexington Avenue Station. The issue here was the turnover of system areas from contract 3 to system contract, and the fact that it did not happen as scheduled, possible access delay to system contract. However, the 63rd Street Station portion of system contract is not on the systems contract critical path, so that's at least that. And we are developing an alternative plan, and we at this point we're about to implement it to allow system contract to get into key areas to mitigate the forecasted delay to those contracts. So what we're doing is we're actually, as we finish certain pieces of work, we're allowing the systems people to step in. That's it.
Ken Haggis from the Independent Engineer will provide his comments.
In our review of the project for the committee, we find the project is on schedule and the schedule contingencies being maintained. Our analysis shows a significant schedule risk centered on the planned turnovers between the finished contractors completing of equipment rooms and the systems contractors stepping into those rooms and installing their equipment. The project's working on a mitigation plan. It's not there yet. There have been a couple key milestones that are successful, but a couple more pieces are needed to that plan before the IEC can feel that that risk is significantly mitigated. Project's on budget. Cost contingency is stable. I note that the project rebudgeted this month and transferred $52 million from construction costs to soft costs. That would be construction management, design support, utility work, and insurance type costs. There was no impact in that process to the project's overall budget. Our recommendation again focuses on the turnover process. We think that the project should consider a technical policy and procedure to govern these contractor-to-contractor turnovers, much like there is a policy and procedures governing the turnover of contracts to the individual agencies. And we think that kind of increase in formality and process will help the turnovers. We have 4 prior recommendations, one of which was closed recently by the project, adding the staff to the systems contract. We have 3 other open recommendations that the project's working on.
Thank you, Kent. There is a report for information only on the 86th Street Station finishes and station restoration. It's a risk assessment report. If there's any questions on that, take them now. If not, we'll move on to the capital program status report delivered by Craig Stewart.
There's a full report on commitments and completions in your CPOC book on section 4, as well as the traffic light report can be found for the second quarter on tab 4 and 12 of your CPOC book. If there's any questions, we'll be glad to entertain them.
Thank you. If there are no questions, we'd adjourn. Seek a motion to go into executive session. And we're doing so in accordance with New York Public Law Section 105, subset 1A, matters which will imperil the public safety if disclosed.